Good morning. This is Martin Feldstein. He is President Reagan's chief economic advisor, and for months now he's been publicly Good morning. This is Martin Feldstein. He is President Reagan's chief economic advisor, and for months now he's been publicly proclaiming that the massive budget deficits brought about by the president's tax cuts and defense spending are dangerous. Well, at the White House, such honest criticism has fallen on sensitive ears and brought warnings to cool it. So in New York last night, Feldstein again talked of the deficits, but this time he also went out of his way to praise the president, thus sending off a number of signals that have left his future very much a question mark today, Thursday, December the 1st, 1983. And good morning. Welcome to Today for Thursday morning here in New York. I'm Bryant, Gumbel, along with Connie, Chung. I didn't make the Feldstein speech last night, did you?
No, it was a little too late.
We better get tickets in a hurry, right?
Absolutely.
Act may not be playing a long time,
Major confrontation.
More on Feldstein's predicaments and beliefs in a moment when we get to the news desk. And then following that, we'll turn our attention to a political story of a different type. On Ken Bodie's journal, we'll find out if votes are for sale in the state of North Carolina. Connie?
Also coming up, a story that Bryant and I will both really appreciate because we are not computer buffs. Why you do not have to buy a computer. Won't you enjoy that? And Hugh and Christy Hefner, Peggy Lee, and Terry Copley will also look at Esquire's 50th birthday. The editors of Esquire are celebrating it by naming 50 people they think made a difference. And there are people that you would recognize, LBJ, JFK, CIA, FCC, but all of those. But there are some that you wouldn't expect, like Katharine Hepburn, maybe.
I peeked at the list.
You did?
Yes, I did.
You're not supposed to do that.
First to the news desk. Let's start this Thursday morning with John Palmer. Good morning, John.
Brian, Connie, good morning. More now on that breach between the economic policies of the Reagan administration and the president's own economic advisor, Martin Feldstein. Feldstein, who got a blunt and public warning from White House spokesman Larry Speakes yesterday to stop criticizing the policies of his boss, did it again last night. At the same time, the chairman of the President's Council of Economic Advisors insisted he's a team player who supports the president. We have more now from Irving R. Levine.
Feldstein's latest speech, repeating the views that have gotten him into hot water with the president he is paid to advise. Feldstein again contradicted the president by warning that big budget deficits will drive up interest rates and that tax increases are needed to reduce the deficit.
I am convinced that the advantages of reducing the deficit outweigh the disadvantages of the proposed increase in tax rates.
Feldstein has been departing from the White House line for months. Example.
I think we see that the only way that these deficits can be reduced in the future is by having additional tax revenue.
But at the White House, approaching an election year, spokesman Larry Speakes, in the strongest rebuke to Feldstein so far, reiterated that the president's policy is no tax increase, adding that policy is well known, with the possible exception of the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. Irving R. Levine, NBC News, Washington.
In Beirut this morning, gunmen ambushed a French peacekeeping patrol and killed one French soldier and wounded another, this in apparent retaliation for French airstrikes against pro-Iranian targets in central Lebanon. In this country, Lebanese President Amin Gemayel has arrived in Washington for talks with President Reagan and other administration officials. On his arrival, the Lebanese president reaffirmed his commitment to the Lebanese-Israeli agreement on the withdrawal of foreign forces from his country. The talks are aimed at finding ways to get that withdrawal plan to work so that Syrian, Israeli, and PLO troops can leave the country. Police in the Netherlands this morning are pressing their hunt for 4 more suspects in the kidnapping of millionaire brewer Alfred Heineken. Thus far, 24 suspects have been arrested. They're all related, and about $3 million of the $12 million ransom has been recovered. The Vatican this morning issued a major statement on sex, a 36-page document, the result of a study ordered by Pope John Paul II, termed sexual relations outside marriage a grave disorder and urges court control of mass media to curb permissiveness and pornography. For buyers of toys this holiday season, the Consumer Product Safety Commission held its annual news conference offering tips and warnings. Peter Hackus reports now on that from Washington.
This year's event.
Members of the Safety Commission pointed out such possible toy problems as long strings and elastics, which could strangle a child, sharp metal or glass edges or sharp points, small parts which can be swallowed, even dangerous baby rattles.
Now this is a rattle in the design of a hammer, but it also can be used by a small child into the throat, and this wide area is enough to block the passage, the air passage, so that choking can ensue.
The Commission's chairman urged toy buyers to read all labels carefully.
This particular bakery shop says that this is for ages 3 through 7. And then it goes on to describe that the reason that it is not appropriate for a child under 3 years of age is because it contains small parts.
While the scientists aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia continue to carry out their experiments today, astronaut Owen Garriott called several fellow amateur radio buffs from space. The astronaut was heard by ham radio operators from Houston to San Francisco. One silver-haired ham operator from Houston called that event more exciting than my first date. It's now 6.5 minutes after 7. Here's Bryant.
Pat Albert. You'd think it's 22nd of December because that's when winter officially begins. Out in the Midwest, it is cold. Arctic air sweeping in across the northern plains. Temperatures today getting up only into the teens. Get some of these statistics. Cutbank, Montana, 14 below right now. Bismarck, North Dakota, 4 below. Denver is 5 above. Minneapolis is 12. And in Mississippi, it is 2 below. Okay. WJHG-TV, Panama City, Florida. Crowd at CBS liked it. WJHG-TV, Panama City. Happy 30th birthday. One of the great operations in the country. Look at that jet stream dipping down into the southwest. You know that means it's going to be cold in Tucson and Phoenix today. Yesterday, 4 to 8 inches of snow in the Cascades, Sierra Nevada range. 25 inches of snow in parts of Buffalo. That was a cockamamie storm. Some places had 4 or 5 inches. Some places had a trace. Other places had 25 inches. And that is Lancaster, I think, up there had 22 inches on the ground. Bitter cold. Temperature only in the teens today throughout the northern plains. And some plain old rain all across Texas today. Back in some showers into Arizona. Windy. This storm system will produce, we don't know yet, to be perfectly honest with you. It could go any way it wants to. It looks like 4 to 6 inches would be an average. But this is a storm system moving pretty much towards the northeast, dragging across Denver later on today and tomorrow. We'll just have to wait and see what it does. Showers from central Florida south, but they should burn off as the morning wears on, and windy and cold here in the east. Here's what's happening in your world this morning.
Around the Southland, it's 60 at the Los Angeles Civic Center, 59 here in Burbank, 59 out at LAX, and 59 in Long Beach.
This is my pleasure this morning. Edward Simpson of Boynton Beach, Florida is 100 years old today. Every day, he smokes 4 cigars and has 1 glass of wine and watches birds.
On Bodie's Journal this morning, a political question for you. If someone offered you $50 for your vote on Election Day, what would you do? Well, Ken Bodie's in our Washington studio this morning, and he's found a place where they are doing that kind of thing routinely. Good morning, Ken.
Morning, Bryant. Everything you're about to see took place in just 1 election, but they tell me that the buying and selling of votes down there has been going on for as long as anyone can remember.
Clay County in the western mountains of North Carolina, about 6,000 people. Hayesville's the county seat. It's a place where the county sheriff himself helps get the kids out of school. Sheriff Howard Bernard, a Democrat, convicted of 30 counts of vote buying. That's a felony. Bernard was prosecuted by U.S. Attorney Charles Brewer, a Republican.
Vote fraud, particularly in the mountain counties of North Carolina, is something that is widely known and nothing has ever been done about, to the best of my knowledge. It is to the point of being a joke.
The focal point of vote buying is the sheriff's race.
That's probably the most important position there.
There are lots of things a county sheriff can do to help his friends, but Howard Bernard says he's not guilty. He's appealing his conviction and, meanwhile, holding on to his job. The courthouse is the main source of about 220 local jobs at stake in a county election. Clay County is just about 50-50 Republican and Democratic. A few votes, one way or the other, controls those county jobs. If you want to vote absentee in North Carolina, you make 1 stop at the courthouse. You pick up a ballot and fill it out right on the spot. Dolly Crisp has this office to herself now. She used to have a helper, a woman 73 years old named Frankie Campbell. Frankie Campbell made sure that bought voters voted right. This is Frankie's mugshot. She even marked some of the ballots herself. Once a voter fulfilled his or her end of the deal, which by the way was a straight ticket vote, Frankie Campbell turned over this little hobnail shoe tack. The voter took the shoe tack across the street to Glenn Martin's shoe store. Glenn Martin's been in this shop for many, many years. He says under the old Republican sheriff, when his front windows were shot out, there wasn't even a serious investigation. That's why he threw in with the Democrats.